Welcome. I'm coming to you after almost 3 full months. It's taken me to move our studios down the hall into a new room and a brand new setup. So hopefully we'll be able to put out a little bit better quality now. But here we are, Bobcast Coffee, back. And we're going to start this next episode, 1, with the invisible mug, and 2, a story about Big John. So I'm here to give you a warning. I will edit this down to make it as family friendly as possible, but understand this is going to be a story about one of the most unique individuals I've ever met. And John Sunzabo, man, myth, and legend. So, if I had to just put this together, think of Sam Kinison or, for you older people, Don Rickles. And this is one of those unique people that we met in Southern California. Help me tell this story today. We're going to have reoccurring guest stars of Shan Scroggins and Jeff Morrow from beautiful Southern California. So sit back, relax, enjoy this, and I'll do my best on the editing. Until then, welcome back to Bobcast Coffee. I'm Bob. I like coffee. I also like to tell stories. So here at the Bobcast Coffee, it's time for a coffee break. So take a coffee break with me and pour yourself a cup of your favorite Joe. By the time you're done with your coffee, you'll know something about me you really didn't need to know. But you'll have fun learning it. Just remember, my stories are true. For the most part.
This episode was brought to you by JM Insurance. JM Insurance. Do you have business, personal, or life insurance yet? Contact JM Insurance Agency to understand the benefits of insuring against the unforeseen circumstances of life. We have over 40 years of experience in the business and will guide with the best probable choice for your situation. Call us for more information at 405-353-0140 or visit our website at jminsurance.agency.
So today, we're doing round two of Shan and Jeff.
So we'll do it. All right.
Big John Sunzabo!
I like this.
Or you could just put the end of it there. That was the best cobbler I've ever had.
I spent 3 weeks in Maxwell House.
Yes. Let's go and have a drink.
Of divorce, alcoholism, run-ins with the law,
drug addiction. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this again. So today, we're doing round two of Shan, who's constipated, and Jeff,
who isn't.
And
well, I got my butt kicked in Wisconsin, so I'm not going.
That's another one that is one of those lines you made up. But hey, it sounds better.
You just make this stuff up as you go.
Yep.
But it sounds better than the original, so we'll do it.
All right.
So today we were going to get together. We've been kicking around a topic to talk about, which is?
Today we were going to talk about my friend and ours, Big John.
John Sunsbo.
Big John Sunsbo.
Big John.
Big John Sunsbo.
All right, so what's the problem with this? Well, I got to tell you that anything else that comes out in this podcast from here on out will probably have to be heavily edited.
Oh, yes.
Well, and in fact, we've asked Bob and Josh if they could to just start bleeping out just regular words too, just to give the impression that what we're saying is profane and all that. So
yeah, make it even worse than.
Yeah, so I'll be saying, man, that steak we had was good, and we bleep out the word steak.
Yeah.
I could say.
I'm just going to replace it with different words.
I like this.
Or you could just put the hint of it there. That was the best cobbler I've ever had. You don't have to say the word.
No, that was a great
idea in there.
That was a great piece of cobbler that I had.
All right.
But so, anyway, Jeff, can you lean over just a little bit? That you're still in frame.
Yeah.
I'm not.
All right, real quick. I'm going to try to keep this together.
Okay.
It didn't work last time.
Maybe if you ply us with alcohol.
Well, we're going to.
Okay.
There's a promise.
In vino verte.
In vino verde.
But first, what kind of coffee are you drinking?
We're not drinking coffee right now. If you're just going to keep I'm cutting all this out.
Okay.
This is coming.
All right.
Who is our sponsor for this podcast?
Maxwell House.
Apparently me.
I spent 3 weeks in Maxwell House, Jeff. You know that. Why do you keep bringing that up? I got the help I needed, and I've been completely decaffeinated.
That's why we don't like you.
Okay.
All right.
Never seen again.
So let's bring this back around.
Okay, all right.
Big John. How did we meet Big John?
The sea was very angry that day, my friends. I had initially met Big John. He was the guy who trained me when I got the job at the Doubletree Hotel there in Pasadena.
Room service.
And room service. Room circus is also my other way of talking about it. But anyway, so Big John was the one who showed me the ropes, and he took me under his wing and never let go. He kind of got me in a headlock. And I was always kind of like, I don't know, his little buddy. He became the skipper, and I was his Gilligan.
You guys would have fit those. Jeff.
Yes.
How did you get to know Big John?
I met him through you and Shannon. And it was supposed to be just let's go and have a drink. Well, all right, sure. And it turned into a night-long binge that I will...
that you don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, man.
A lot of days disappeared because of Big John.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Big John really took it to the limit. He was always... he lived up to his name. And just so you know, it was only in the context of room service that he was called Big John. To the people outside, he was... Because his last name is Sunsbo,
right.
So he was always referred to as Sonny. But we always called him Big John.
I always heard people say, how's sunny today? And I'm just like, well, it's actually kind of cloudy.
Yeah.
And I guess they thought I was making jokes because I never drew the two together for a long time.
Yeah. But, Big John had a wide, varied history of divorce, alcoholism, run-ins with the law,
drug addiction,
and one of the things that was always I found interesting was Big John really seemed to sincerely want to become part of a cartel, he would always say, "Man, I keep trying to get in, but they just won't let me do it." And part of me is like, "Well, Big John, you're a loose cannon. Of course they're."
So I knew this for years, and I thought this was just part of the humor of John. And it wasn't until today that we were talking about that I realized this is serious. He truly wanted to be part of a cartel.
Yeah, he saw it as a career advancement, a career track to go down. And so, but for the longest time, he never let that get in the way of a good party.
No.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was constantly,
Now, at your wedding, was he one of the ushers or something?
No, you were.
Oh, yeah, I was.
If you remember that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We couldn't keep you in the suit.
Not a big fan of the suits.
Well,
But-
running
but-
naked-
I feel
running
another
naked was
podcast.
not good.
But after your wedding, they had you had a bunch of like fruit and things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
And your mother-in-law said, "Hey Jeff, you want some fruit? Go ahead and grab it." So I grabbed a couple, and he gave me. If it's one thing I can't stand, it's a fruit thief. And
Yeah.
Big John, I didn't even bother
No, wait.
explaining it to him.
No, wait a minute. Is that what Big John said?
Yes,
Word for word?
word for word.
Because Big John was very famous for adding descriptive terms to every sentence
Oh,
he
yeah.
used.
Yeah, no, fruit thief. In this instance, he had another name for Jeff too.
The blood giver, because I used to donate platelets.
And
It's the blood giver. Big John, nice to see you.
You have to notice that every time we start quoting Big John, it's the blood giver.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what his voice sounded like.
Oh yes.
All right, so I mean,
So I went from being blood giver to fruit thief.
Yeah.
And depending on what kind of mood he was in, it could be either one or both.
Yeah, and with Big John, he was very generous, though, especially when it came to drinks and also to providing drugs as well too. Big John,
So I do remember one night we got off work at. I'm not sure you were there. You might have been. I don't remember much of the night, but we got off work over at DoubleTree, and we were living at Yola, and we all go in and we're sitting in the living room. It's like 2:30 in the morning. And we're not being noisy, or we have like maybe 5 beers in the refrigerator, that's it. Everybody grabs a beer, we sit down, and John, he's just sitting there, and without even thinking, he just reaches down, grabs a Frisbee or something like that, breaks out the dope, and starts rolling a joint. And he's sitting there and we're just talking, but we're talking, it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But we have another roommate. You remember our other roommate?
yeah, Ted Mueller.
Yes. So
We'll bleep that last name out.
yeah.
The concierge.
No, we won't. Yeah, the
Yeah,
concierge.
The concierge.
Yeah, the concierge.
At the DoubleTree.
So he's our extra roommate. He actually rented YOLO, and we moved in with him.
Mm-hmm.
He needed roommates. I think he ate the others. I'm not sure. But his bedroom was right off the living room, and he would lock the door, and with several locks, and he slept with his phone. And I guess something disturbed him. And we're not talking about cell phones. We're talking about a wired, Ma Bell, standard phone. We're sitting there, Big John just rolling this joint. We're drinking a beer, talking about, how bad room service work was that night. And all of a sudden, there's this pounding on the door. Right?
Yeah.
So I get up. Big John just sitting there holding his little tray of dope. And I go walking over to the door. Now, you can't see the door from the living room, but it's offset by like 3-4 feet. It's not much.
Mm-hmm.
I walk over and I open up the door to see who's there. And I've got a Pasadena cop, drawn down with the gun. And I just take 3 steps back. I turn, I slowly reach, get my wallet out. I lay it on the floor, and I take another 2 steps back. And I am not going to say a word. This cop comes in, and John, sitting there with this dope in his lap, right like this, just does this, and just sets it down and grabs his beer, and like nothing.
Uh-huh.
So what's happened is Ted sleeps with his phone. He has rolled over and hit speed dial 1 in his sleep because 911 takes too long to dial. He's got it on speed dial.
Oh, that sounds like Ted.
So the police pick up this phone call. It's a 911, no answer. So they just run a unit straight there for an emergency. They don't know what they're coming into, and their guns drawn, they're coming in. And we're just sitting there going, we're just having a beer.
Yeah.
We're all dressed in our room service
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, we're not making any noise.
Yeah, we're not making any noise, And he goes, "Is there anybody else in this room or in this house?"
Yeah, there's
and
Ted.
Big John goes, "It's Ted." So the cops all look at Big John because it is a voice you gotta look at.
Mm-hmm.
And we all point. And they go over, and the cop pounds on the door. Here it is, 3 o'clock in the morning. Someone pounding on Ted's door. And Ted goes, who the fuck is it? He goes, Pasadena police, open your door.
Yeah, Ted didn't want to open the door.
And he goes, no, leave me alone. Hey, boom, boom, boom. And he goes, open the door. And he goes, no. And he stops, and he just turns to us like,
what's going on?
What's wrong with this guy?
You've now met Ted.
Yeah, so we all yell, Ted, it's the police. They are here. Open your door. And so the cop's standing right by the door.
Yeah.
And you hear, chink, chink, shit, punk, chunk, chink, chink, chink. And the cop is just looking at the door, looking at us, and we're just like, right? Mm-hmm. So Ted opens the door, and they go in. And they find out that Ted's an idiot.
Yeah.
And he's got the phone. It's off the receiver. The receiver's off the cradle.
Yeah.
Pick it up. It's 911 on the other end. They're just like, you're an idiot. Right? And they go, we're sorry. And they walk out the door. And I mean, the door's not even shut. And here's Big John. And he just goes right back, finishes this joint and goes, and there's not even in the car yet. He's lighting up.
And like nothing ever happened.
And this is like the template for what life was like in Southern California for us. Especially with people like Big John. I mean,
this is early, like 1991, 92.
Yeah. And the crazy thing, I grew up in my younger years kind of living the Sandlot. And that experience. And so now here it's all of a sudden I'm living in a Seinfeld episode. and it's just, nothing made any sense. There was no purpose for anything, nothing to be learned or gained. But yeah, these weird things would constantly happen. And you're just minding your own business.
All right. So it may not be Big John's. Big John does not walk up and make an issue. That's not him. He just happens to always be there.
Yeah. A force of nature.
We're here making a podcast. The wall explodes, right? Mm-hmm. And collapses, and a car's ran into the side of the building. Or
the Kool-Aid guy.
Yeah. But we're all sitting there going, whoa! And John would be sitting in the corner going, got mad.
Nothing phased him.
Not totally in phase.
I had many encounters with Big John, especially doing room service, and so you were constantly. And Big John's always asking for the tickets. He's always and he's usually staggering around and just like maniacal. Half lit. He's always at work wasted, and he's just he'll grab the glasses and start just polishing because he just has to keep his hands busy. And he just had this way of walking, his stomach, he had a big old stomach, and so that thing was always prominently displayed for everybody. But he gets up there in the room, he's always congenial and nice and everything.
Huge tips.
Yeah.
Better tips than just about anybody else on your best night. I'm watching the tips. He is always top of the tips. You might top him one night out of a month, but no one had a chance. And you're sitting there going, he would scare the hell out of me if I opened the door and room service.
Well, and then you or the other order taker, Deanna, would leave and go to the bathroom or take a break or something like that. And Big John would go in there and start taking the orders. And I remember one time, Big John's just sitting there, and one of the other room service guy was Johnny Gallegos.
Yeah.
And your kind of usual, hardworking Mexican guy, but Johnny had a little bit higher of a personality. His English, he was born in America, and so he had no accent or anything like that. But he was always felt that he was a player, and he was always looking for the angle. And if anybody was like part of the cartel, it was probably Johnny at some point. But there was this joke that Big John told that stuck with me all these years. All of a sudden, Big John just kind of stops. When Johnny comes into the area, and again, they're folding napkins. That's the other big job that we were
room service. Folded napkins and packed cookies.
Yeah.
Double
tree cookies. Had to put them in little brown paper bags or boxes.
The boxes.
And so Big John just suddenly stops what he's doing and he goes, "Hey, Johnny!" And Johnny walks over to him and he's like, "Hey, Johnny, if you were in prison." And this is one of those things that could very real. It's a real possibility for Johnny and Big John at some point. But Big John goes, "Hey, Johnny, if you were in prison and suddenly found yourself surrounded by a bunch of guys and you were anally raped, would you tell anybody about it? And Johnny kind of thought for a second, is like, what? And he goes, yeah, if someone anally raped you, would you tell them about it? And Johnny goes, no, I wouldn't say anything. And so then Big John reaches his hand out of the window for the room service, and to shake his hand, he goes, you want to go camping?
That sounds like Big John. One thing I got to ask you.
Well, and then Johnny just goes, and starts laughing like crazily. And then there was this big fat chef over there, Chef Steve. And he had like these Coke bottle glasses, like the lens that thick, and his nose was always running. He could hardly breathe. And his
That's what you want.
And his ankles were all, because he was so overweight, his ankles couldn't support him, and so he was just a miserable individual. And so when Johnny's going, Chef Steve just suddenly goes, shut up! And I mean, it's like just echoed throughout the whole kitchen area. And we're just like, okay, So anyway, it kind of ruined the mood. But it was just, again, one of those situations where, Big John, being Big John. And,
Big John.
Yeah.
So did Deanna and Big John get along?
I think so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She struck me as kind of after what you told me.
Yeah.
The Gordita issue.
Yeah, the whole Gordita song. Yeah, Big John wasn't part of that one. But,
okay.
Well, there were several of our employees primarily spoke Spanish, so we wouldn't know what they were saying. Mm-hmm. And they picked on Deanna.
Wait, this isn't a Big John story.
No.
Well, but
they would pick on me.
Okay.
Right.
Well, they could angry at you because they thought you were Spanish.
Right.
You looked at that time. You looked like Andy Garcia.
So Big John comes to me. I guess this is a Big John story, and he says, "This is what this means, and this means."
Okay.
Right. And they come in, and I'm giving them orders, and they like to call me Bubbo. Thank you, Bubbo. And I Bubbo is a pet name you would give to like a very small yappy dog.
What do you think, Josh? Josh is the producer. He's shaking his head in affirmative. That's
a fitting
a fitting sobriquet.
So, but they had several other even worse things that they would say, and they just thought it was funny because I don't speak Spanish, and so as soon as they said that, Big John told me to say, for the life of me, I cannot remember the phrase, but just say it. And he had coached me to say it, like, not thank you very much, but, it's something like, you're so funny, but in Spanish. And dropped him. I mean, they just all froze. It's like, he's been able to speak Spanish all this time.
Yeah.
And they never said another word to me in Spanish ever again.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what you got to do. I work with a lot of Spanish people real quick. And I was trying to catch on to what they were saying. They didn't like it. So they started talking faster. But whenever they needed something from me, they talk English.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, how you saying the Spanish? No.
No.
It's the same. Why you say that all the time? No, it's no.
Yeah.
See.
Well, Jeff, you had the experience of working with Big John. Jeff did security.
About 2 weeks, and then he was gone.
Yeah. So were you actually there when Big John got fired?
Yes.
Were you involved in that and escorting him off the property?
I think Isaac Laura did that.
That was your boss.
But
nice enough guys.
No, it was great, and Big John was in the wrong. I hate to say it.
Well, one of the things that Big John always was doing, whenever he would take the orders upstairs, and it was during the time when the housekeepers were working, he would always go over to their carts and start taking either the hygiene products or the mints, and then he would start ransacking that, and he kept big trash bags full of this stuff in his locker, and then once he got it full enough, he would then take it over to the bar, especially the mints, and he would trade it for drinks.
Well, not only that, I asked Isaac, what did he have in his locker? Well, he had about 50 ketchup. I'm like, what? Who needs 50 ketchup bottles?
Little ketchup.
Yeah, little ketchup. Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense to me. He had like hundreds of different kinds of things, and it's like, why? Getting fired over that? Come on.
Well, but that's Big John. That is the way Big John rolled.
Yeah.
As you said about Paul, he wanted more tangible goods.
Yeah. Yeah. So Big John was, kind of this larger than life personality.
Oh yeah.
I will tell you, I got to get this story in.
Oh, okay.
All right. So this is before he got fired. I was living in the double wide. I guess it was after he got fired.
Was that Space Bank?
Yeah, I was at Space Bank. I was in the double wide trailer, and he was over visiting, and we had a couple of beers, and I had to go to some place, and I put on a nice shirt and had on a pair of slacks, and I'm heading out to the car. John's heading out to his car, and we're just talking, and I had something like coffee or a soda or something in my hand, and I juggled it and spilt it all down my front, and I'm just like, and I don't have another shirt to go change in. I'm just like, well, crap.
Yeah.
And John's sitting there he's got a white button-down shirt on. And he goes, no problem. And he just unbuttons his shirt, takes it off. Wear this. And I'm like,
it was probably like 3 sizes too big.
It was large, but it got me through the night. He literally gave me the shirt off his back.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me.
Yeah.
You always hear about, oh, they're such a nice person, they'd give you the shirt off their back. Big John did.
Yeah.
And it didn't faze him at all.
Yeah.
It was just like, this fixes the problem.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're in some ways when you were sewing up Paul Cox's pants, maybe it was kind of like you're paying it forward.
Oh yeah. Believe me.
But that's another podcast. Podcast number 61, I think, something like that.
51.
51.
You're still going to get dividends from that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Make no mistake.
But one of the greatest, because Big John was so quick, even though he had an alcohol-addled mind, he was so quick with the comment, especially again when he was calling people names, making up a nickname or something for him. But I think the greatest one was there with Jeff.
Jesus,
Big John had just got through talking about he sometimes some little factoid would bubble up in his head, and he would start sharing a story. In this case, it was how Pasadena got its name, and it was completely wrong.
It was great, and he was really into it. He was very interested, and it got you interested too. So I'm listening, and I said, "Well, that's really interesting, Big John."
Wait, what did he say? Pasadena was.
Well, it means low land.
Low land.
Yeah, and he was talking about the history, and he just drew me in.
Which is
so Big John. That's very interesting. What do you call Altadena? End town.
No. He said.
No.
And it was horrible.
It was without missing a beat. I mean, let's reenact it. I'll be the Big John. I'll be the Big John part.
All right.
So Altadena, so Pasadena means like the lowland. It is also there in the valley because you have the arroyo going through, and so Pasadena got. And again, this is do not use this as what Pasadena actually means. Pasadena,
it doesn't.
It does not. But Big John said it did, and so we'll go in Big John's world. So yeah, it means the lowland. This is where because of the arroyo going through, and that's how Pasadena got its name.
Well, that's very interesting, Big John. Really. What do they call Altadena?
So anyway, it was just right off the cuff. I mean,
but it was Big John.
Yeah.
And we all just are like astounded at the audacity to say something like that.
Yeah,
and the funny thing is that Jeff, and the reason why Jeff was asking because you lived in Altadena at that time, and there was a big section of it which was a black community, and so
that wasn't the first time he ever told that joke.
Yeah.
He told that to a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I only ever heard it when he said it to Jeff.
No,
I take that back.
Yeah, in the car with taking people up to Altadena.
Yeah, he never did frame it in that way. But yeah, it was.
Sorry.
Well, that's the way it goes.
Here, do you want to?
No.
Better whiskey anyway.
So, but yeah, and not that we celebrate that sentiment, but it was just at the for its time and the timing of it.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things where and yeah, you're right, Big John. But see, the thing was with Big John, like Don Rickles. He was what do you call it? Where you offend everybody.
But no one.
Equal opportunity offender.
Yes, an equal opportunity offender.
No matter who you were, for some stupid reason, you could not get offended by him.
Yeah.
He could insult you, your family, your heritage, everything about you. And it was funny.
Yeah. Well,
And you just had to admit that it was funny. And no, calling out to Dina, not. Well, really, today you'd get shot for it. They'd string you up on the light pole.
Oh, yeah.
But Big John could pull it off because he was the Don Rickles. He was the
Sam Kinison.
Sam Kinison.
Yeah, he was very loud, and Big John in his actual everyday life and everything, he would interact in very intimate ways sometimes with people of other ethnicities. He was not in any way it's white or no way.
He wasn't prejudiced.
His ex-wife was Hispanic. And Jeff, remember he had a girlfriend named Patty at the time, but they broke up. They had a falling out, and she wrote Big John a letter. And Jeff saw the letter.
I laughed for like 20 minutes after that. And she goes, Big John, there's no future for us. No future at all. For you've been with and I just... Oh, man.
So I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Big John was showing it around. He kind of or did he leave it at the house or
he
something?
left it at the house.
He left it at the house.
And you picked it up and started reading it.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this?
I laughed for like 30 minutes after that.
You've been.
I'm not sure this is actually going to get a podcast number.
Yeah.
But I am going to tell you this. Of all the people that have come in and out of our circle, Big John.
Oh.
You gotta admit, he made an impact in our lives.
Oh, yeah. The Big John!
The Big John. Oh, you weren't kidding. That's good whiskey. Oh, man.
You're not kidding. This
Ooh, that's a burn.
not as good.
Aunt B, that's a good.
That's a good whiskey there, Aunt B. Oh, it's good.
All right.
Give you a haircut.
Oh, Andy, Floyd, everything. Oh, whenever we get whiskey from Bob, it's always white water. I don't.
Oh, come on, Bob.
We're ending the All right, so Shan, tell us about this vacation that you took with. Okay. Come on, it's okay.
All right.
My therapist told me never to talk about this. I buried it deep into.
You're in a safe place.
Okay.
All right.
Well, Big John decided, he had an ex-wife and a daughter who lived down in Mazatlan, Mexico.
Mazatlan, great place.
And kind of vacation town. Well, Big John doesn't like going to the tourist spots, so he took me to where the locals are. And the flight down there was pretty uneventful. Of course, Big John was having drinks. I had a drink on the flight too, and so we spent like 4 or 5 days down there, and it kept getting progressively more and more chaotic. And a little bit more, and I got to see parts of Mazatlan that I never would have seen otherwise. Big John was familiar with all the local haunts.
Yeah, so you were seeing like the mom and pop restaurants.
Yeah.
The little convenience stores, whatever they call them, the little market. Did you see the jails?
It was this close. And in fact, the hotel we stayed in was some hole-in-the-wall place, too. And it's like again, it was not in the tourist area, which nowadays, if you go to Mazatlan or Cancun or something like, do not leave the compound. Stay in the tourist area, because you may get killed or kidnapped. But this is back before that time. It was still pretty rough. And there was one instance where Big John took me to a strip club. And just as we pulled, there were no dirt road. It was dirt roads at the place. And just as we came pulling up there, and there were some other like really run down shops. All of a sudden, this let's see, what do you call it? Where it's the old timey truck with like a military truck. Yeah. With the awning over the back of it, and that suddenly pulls up, and then all these federales come jumping out with their guns, with their automatic weapons. And I'm just like, where are you taking me, Big John? And so anyway, we only spent a short time there. And the main story I kind of wanted to tell over that journey was our last day there, and actually leading up to catching the plane. Big John decided, and we had rented a little white VW Bug.
That's all you can rent in Mazatlan. And I've been there.
Yeah. And so Big John had made me stop off before he decided, I want to go and swim in the ocean. And And he would not change his idea. And I'm like, well, our plane leaves, around noon, maybe 11:30 or something like that. Big John's, oh, we got plenty of time. And he goes, I want to, go swim in the ocean. I'm like, okay. And so we start driving along, but we didn't get a mile down the road. And Big John goes, hey, pull over here. And it was a liquor store. And he went in there and got 2 pints of Bacardi rum, white rum. And by the time we got to the beach, he already had the first one drank. He was just down and just pounding this. And so
I feel so sorry for his liver.
Oh yeah, I'd sue for separate maintenance.
Yeah. And so he goes, hey, you're gonna come swim? And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna stay here in the car. And so I'm just sitting there minding, just trying to keep my head down, like, and my anxiety level is rising because I've seen that he's still got another bottle of Bacardi to drink. And I'm like, are we gonna make it to the airplane on time? And so he gets over there, he strips down naked. He leaves. He gets about 50.
Oh wait, this is not a good visual image.
Oh man.
He gets down there. There's like some driftwood log or something like there on the beach, and so he gets over there, strips down naked at that log, and then just goes. And I'm just like averting my eyes. What are you doing? I'm averting my eyes.
Don't.
And so he gets over there in the ocean. He's just frolicking around. And he took that pint of rum with him, and I see him hitting the bottle every now and then. But before he went in the ocean, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go, Lord, I'm gonna be stuck here. I don't want to be stuck in Mazatlan. There's nothing worse than me. Young. How old would I have been at that time? I was late 20s, maybe 26, 27 years old, and I'm like, I don't want to go into
I don't want to die.
I don't want to go into a Mexican jail. But think of the stories I could tell.
Yes.
But
love it.
So anyway, Big John's doing that. So just about that time, while he's over there naked in the ocean, a Mexican police, the policia, pulls up like 2. There's the car I'm in, the white VW, an empty space, and then them, and where they pulled up. And I'm just suddenly going, oh no, they're going to see Big John's going to come out of the water naked, and they're going to go over there to investigate, find he's just drunk and alcohol, and he's going to start smarting off. Who knows what he's going to say.
And you're going to back up out of the parking spot into the airport.
Well, I don't even know where the airport is. I'm having to look. I don't know what's north. I don't know what's south. I have no idea. And it's jungle. If you've ever been down that part of Mexico, it's just all jungle. With a little bit of a road going in between the huge jungle trees, and I have no idea where I'm at. I don't know anything. And so Big John's over there frolicking, and the police go over there, and they never enter on the sand. They walk to the very edge of the parking lot and just stand there and start looking around. And I'm just like, oh man, I hope they could. And I'm also going, I hope they don't come talk to me because I can't speak Spanish. How am I going to answer them? And so eventually, good 10 minutes pass by. Big John never comes out of the ocean, and they get back in their car and then drive off. And then about 5-10 minutes later, Big John comes back, finishes off his bottle of Bacardi, and then comes back into the car. And by this time, he's just staggering. He can hardly get across the sand. He's just, and it takes him like a good 5 minutes to get back to the car, just trying to navigate the sand trap.
He did put his clothes back on.
Yes, yeah. So, but they were soaked wet. And so he finally gets back in the car, and by
this is how he flies home.
Yeah, and he's just like, and he starts trying to get me to pull off at another liquor store that he has an idea for, and I wouldn't do it. I go, no, Big John, we're not doing it. We're not going to another liquor store. We're going to the airport right now because I'm keeping track of the time. He has no awareness of the time. And I'm like, no, we've still got to get ourselves checked in. And so we get there. And by this time, the alcohol's really kicked in. And he's getting harder and harder to understand. He's just slurring his words so much. But then he gets over there, and we finally make it into where the concourse is to get on the airplane. And they got a bar set up there. And I'm just like, what the heck? And I'm like, no. And I'm looking around, and that's the first thing Big John hits. He just starts pounding the drinks. He's still got enough awareness that he's got cash in his pocket. And he's just pounding the drinks. And pretty soon he starts trying to interact with the other passengers because they still haven't let people get on the plane yet. And he's just like, hey! He just like periodically just starts screaming that out in the terminal. Hey! And I'm just like, oh no! Now they're not going to let us on the plane because Big John's too drunk. And so I start bargaining with God. God, is it going to be wrong if I just leave him? What if I just get on the plane? Will I be a bad person? Can I just leave?
Hang on. You're killing our sound guy, our producer.
And so by this time, Big John could just barely, man, oh man, he's just leaning against everything because he can't stay. If he did not have something to put his weight on, he would just collapse because he is just that wasted. And it's like 11:30 in the morning, and he's just gone. And so finally, they open it up, and we're the last ones to get on there because Big John sort of goes, I want one more drink. And everybody else is getting on the plane, and pretty soon we're the only ones left there in the terminal, waiting to get on the plane. And Big John just pounds one last drink, and we finally get him to start heading up there. And I had to kind of guide him because he was, kind of pinballing down the thing. And so we get on the plane. And thankfully, Big John then passed out immediately. The second he hit that seat,
did the entire plane applaud?
Yeah, and he did not come to until we landed in America, and I was safe. And he was sober enough then for me to help him get home. But anyway, that's my Big John vacation story. And I look back and I go, why did I do that? But then again, I look back and go, I'm glad I did that. It's one of those things. It's a rite of passage. Big John made me a man.
Before you got married, I went to Mazatlan with your soon-to-be in-laws.
Oh yeah, with the old ones.
Yeah, Bob and Arlene, and we went down. And you know something? I never once saw the inside of a strip club or a bar.
Or the Federales.
I never saw the Federales.
Yeah, of Mexico.
I do remember before he got fired. This is my other Big John story. I totally forgot about this. It's the only time I ever got a word in, and he thought I actually thought it was funny. But anyways, hey, I'm going to go to this party over in Azusa. You want to come with me? No, Big John. Haven't got the stomach for it, huh? No, I haven't got the liver for it.
Yeah.
And he just started crying.
Well, a lot of times Big John would invite you to go on these things mainly because he needed a ride.
A ride, yeah.
And I, at the time, if you remember, I had a motorcycle, and by this time it was pretty beat up. It looked like an old Mad Max type of motor, and I would give Big John a ride on the back of that. It was just a 450, so it had barely enough power to chug us. But we would get on the freeway with that thing, and Big John would be on the back, kind of like
pulling shots off the steering.
Yeah. Well, mainly, even in this case, Big John had a sense of his mortality, and so he was hanging on for dear life. But
on that motorcycle?
Yeah, that old motorcycle I had.
Shit.
Yeah, it was crazy. So anyway, and usually it was to give him a ride back to Monrovia, where the Old Town Tavern was.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time.
Yeah. So I got to spend a lot of those nights with Big John at the Old Town Tavern as well too.
Didn't he live with his sister who was
who was a lesbian? Yeah. So anyway, that
you always got that going for you,
which is nice.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my story about Big John, and I don't know. Do we need to make another toast?
No more toast.
No.
Oh, gee. That's
all
it.
right.
I gotta go.
We gotta go. And we're done. We will edit this together, and I have no idea if it's gonna work. But
one last, I just got. Big John could insult you, but you never bore him any malice.
No.
It was always, thanks, John, appreciate it. You're the tops.
See him tomorrow, and life is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.